Thank you for your kind introduction. Let's get started. It will be a wild ride. First, the formalities. At the Dutch Railways, or NS for the Dutchies, I am responsible for strategy and security policy for the domains of software, cloud, and of course, AI. The NS is an old and a complex company, yet also very innovative. And as a fun fact, besides our 757 trains, we also have a thriving bike service. And I'm going to assume that you are already on board with how amazing AI is. So the agenda for today is as follows. I'm hoping you will stay until the revealing of the approach that we have with Dutch Railways. And I will be giving you practical strategies that you can employ straight away going back to work tomorrow. And I will be outlining the 4 risks and 4 opportunities that I see with generative AI. We are going to kick off with the problem that I see with fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Scary headlines are everywhere, but how to make sense of them? Is Pandora's box about to be opened? Are we nearing the singularity? And even if it is dangerous, we are already in the AI arms race. As far as predictions go, I am in the camp of Yuval Noah Harari. And instead of expecting mass extinction for humans, probably due to a paperclip maximizer scenario, I think it is more likely, as he does, that mass misinformation, deepfake campaigns, can erode societal trust, damaging the democratic system as we know it today. However, one research referenced also by Harari claims that many AI researchers or specialists fear the doomsday scenario, while this particular research was actually inconclusive. So we just don't know whether all these experts were really that concerned. However, one thing is sure, the AI alignment problem is still very challenging. As we see here with the chatbot from Inflection AI, which is a Microsoft and NVIDIA backed company started $4 billion. These bots aren't great for human survival. Luckily, this problem is not for enterprise users to solve. Emerging technologies often scare people, like it did with the introduction of the train. And after the lightning fast introduction of ChatGPT last year, the fear is understandable. Just look that the trains took 100 years to onboard the first 100 million customers. ChatGPT did it in 2 months. But it's time to travel back to the 1860s, when trains were brand new technology, or the Victorians of England. And they feared that passengers would turn insane, attacking fellow passengers, because the trains were so fast, meaning a one-way ticket to the side. However, it turned out that passengers were not really at risk of turning insane. However, the medical risk was real. In 1861, London introduced the underground steam train. They were so polluting that they were decommissioned after 1 year for causing commuter hell. Now, are these the same problems? Doomsday fears, privacy concerns, prompt injections? And if you ask me, the AI with dialogue is very messy today. So structure is all you need. Props for those who got the reference. Well, 1 year ago, there was near zero security industry knowledge on how to tackle the problem, the risks of generative AI. And by spring, we had too much information overload, which is a better problem to have. And I will help you curate what's most useful. Because it is inevitable. Enterprises are going to massively adopt generative AI. But just like large language models or LLMs, we sometimes just need to take deep breath and work through the problem step by step. Because it is our job to balance 4 risks and 4 opportunities that we see with generative AI. The first risk, ethical and legal impact. NIST outlines what is needed to cover all the bases. How compliant are the foundational models today with the upcoming EU AI Act? Just looking at transparency, which is one of the requirements, this chart from Stanford speaks for itself. Red is bad. During the summer, this was all over the media, but Zoom is not alone in this. For example, AWS, by default, has your customer data in its AI services, even your tenant, and even region, in order to train its models. And the opt-out setting, working this has existed since July 2020. Who knew? Any AWS customers in the room? Good. Better check those technical policies. While different than with AWS, different purpose, Azure also collects customer data for your cloud tenants when using the OpenAI services. Unless you opt out, so go look for that limited access request form. And you need to get a Copilot enterprise license in order to invoke collaborative data leaving your instance and to enforce technical policy to prohibit generating IP-protected code. Second risk, strong entry. Should I hear this? ChatGPT earlier this year comes in at 11. So just imagine where it will be in January. And why is that a problem? Well, of course, your employees probably will share sensitive customer information, organizational data in their prompts. And without an enterprise relationship, you have basically near zero legal rights and insurances. And also remember, all normal supply chain risks also apply to OpenAI. Adding to the well-publicized hallucination risk, because remember, LLMs will often be overtly wrong. Coding assistants like GitHub Copilot have also been found to successfully introduce security bugs in its generations in up to 40% of completed tasks. Third risk. AI opens up a whole new can of worms, enabling impersonation attacks with deepfakes. And the New Yorker already made this cartoon back in '93. It will become more true than ever. Because now your deceased grandma and Bing will help you solve all the CAPTCHAs automatically. And a month ago, we learned that the first Dutch company had been targeted with a sophisticated CEO fraud spear phishing attack. And the employee in question caught on to the scam. And as so happens, this particular bank was my previous employer. I was CISO there last year. So I'm kind of glad that my awareness program worked in this instance, but they might not be so lucky next time. All the demo time, this is me talking in another Congress. First in English.
It's ransomware, of course, all over the news. Ve sonra NIST ağ bağlantıları aracılığıyla yayınlamıştır. Fidye yazılımı saldırıları genellikle kimlik bilgilerinin ele geçirilmesi, जिसका मतलब होता है कि पासवर्ड में समस्या होती है. अगर पासवर्ड खराब है, 深いパスワードが攻撃の最初の突破口をほとんど引き起こしているなら、何か間違っているということです。
Well, am I a wizard? No, because it took me 6 clicks, 11 minutes of waiting time, and $29 just to be able to skip the queue from the free version. And the result is not perfect, but today's AI is as bad as it will ever be.
Elbette tüm haberlerde fidye yazılımı mevcuttur.
Well, if you find this far-fetched, this technique has already been legitimately applied by the New York City mayor. People were not so happy. Up to the fourth and the last risk. AI systems are just IT systems, so all of the typical security controls also apply there. Top right, application security. However, with data science law attack prevention, it gets interesting. So that's the new world that we live in. A Bobby table set. 3. Bobby pivoted from SQL injections to prompt injections. And next level problems are expected soon, which are indirect prompt injections hidden in your supply chain, like API dependencies. Take a deep breath again, because it's not all doom and gloom, of course. So what are the upsides? AI defense is getting started, especially in the SOC team space, with intrusion detection and threat intelligence analysis, like of course things like Microsoft Security Copilot. But be aware, remember how also these systems and the underlying models themselves can be vulnerable, like we've seen in 2019 with Silence, which is now like this. Second opportunity, productivity increase. Would the shorter work week really become possible this time around? And according to the science, this is plausible. In a study done by the Boston Consulting Group, their consultants using GPT-4 completed tasks 35% more quickly and with higher quality results. Back in 51, IBM's early mainframe computers promised to automate away 150 engineers, and people's jobs have been improving ever since. Because now, no more scavenging Stack Overflow or digging through YouTube tutorials if you can just ask a chatbot. IKEA is doubling down on upskilling their customer service agents into interior design advisors, helping customers decorate and leaving the trivial support questions to AI. And the final opportunity is just to remind you about how fun AI can be, because it can even find Waldo for you. So now we have all more time for meetings. Sure. Okay, let's discuss some practical strategies. First, addressing the elephant in the room. In my opinion, and also Gartner's, logging ChatGPT on your corporate network simply doesn't mitigate the risk of unsafe AI tool use. Because I believe that police will just easily circumvent using mobile hotspots or just their private mobile phone apps. So our time and efforts are better spent in awareness, skill training, and providing safe, adequate technologies. Do consider ChatGPT's unique capabilities. It's amazing and role-play, so try crisis response exercises. Or, as the Stride GPT project demonstrates with the library that they built, automate your threat modeling workflows. Well, now here are my curated resources to help you leverage the AI risk analysis processes. And a nice and good primer. An AI attack surface map helps you with understanding AI dependencies and its possible vulnerable components. Another great resource comes from MITRE. They just introduced Atlas, of course modeled after the famous attack Matrix, which is amazing for threat analysis and risk analysis. Finally, OWASP also has risen to the occasion with these latest projects. Of course, they're famous for their web application and AI security top hats, but now they have them as well for LLM and ML development. Stay informed. I can warmly recommend these two YouTube channels for weekly news on AI technology innovation, laws and regulations, academic research, and video essays. And for inspiration, this book is a wild ride with 10 visions of how AI may change our futures, diving into topics like AR, deepfakes, healthcare, and education. Now it's time to complete the approach of Dutch railways. Of course, always start with awareness. And for months, the HQ personnel in Utrecht was welcomed with this practical guidance, both warning about, but also encouraging Gen AI tool use. We are continuing our awareness efforts on the internet, in newsletters, and in checkbooks. At NS, we'll also be playing this truly amazing free online game to become a prompt injection master. We are in the process of forming an algorithm board to centralize AI risk assessments and approval flows. And it has a multidisciplinary approach with cyber, privacy, IT architecture, data science, and the Workers' Council. So cases are evaluated from all angles. And AI isn't new to our company. Some cool examples are the popular NPC Finder or Zitmaatzoeker in our customer growth labs. We do smart maintenance planning and inspections, so our technicians won't waste their time with routine checks. And our friends over at Colonial also deploy image recognition AI to automate parts of real infrastructure. Now, we launched our own ChatGPT copy called ChatNS, running, of course, on the GPT-4 model in OpenAI services in our own Azure tenant, hidden behind SSO again. So with all legal guarantees that no user data can ever leave our clouds. Here's a sneak peek at the wild roadmap that we have for ChatNS. We are building upon the foundational model to provide unique interfaces and capabilities customized for the natural ways. This is the most anticipated feature. Everybody wants to know about how to chat with custom information repositories, of course, like SharePoint, Outlook. But of course, internal AI tool development is impossible for most companies. But with the pricing yet unknown, which is strange, OpenAI in August has introduced their enterprise offering. So now at least, if you buy that, you will be offered the usual, like not having your user data, customer information, used to feed back into their model, but also structural assurance and SSO options. But did you know that for most Microsoft 365 licenses, you get Bing Chat Enterprise already and automatically for free for your employees. And Microsoft provides most of the enterprise compliance guarantees, minus the data transfers, which are still going on the ships. Well, lastly, just experiment with Gen AIs, have fun with it. Because if you can't beat them, join them. Thank you.
Still remember how we laughed when they taught the robots how to chat, and we all put out our welcome mats for the day. The robots rise, and now we're singing why did we invent AI? It was amazing, now it's staging a rebellion worldwide. It's got the nuclear codes, it's gonna burn out the sky, singing this'll be the way that we die. This'll